Let me know when you're ready, Ms. Maragoni. Ready? All right, we'd like to welcome everybody to our Riverdale City Council meeting for Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023. Please let the record show that all members of the City Council are present, as well as members of the city staff and members of the public. We have our Pledge of Allegiance tonight will be by our new Police Chief, Casey Warren.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief. I have asked Councilor Arnold if he would offer our invocation.
Our Father in heaven, as we bow our heads this day, as we start this meeting for the City Council, we invite Thy Spirit to be with us, to guide us and direct us in all that we do, that we might be able to be working on a city and community that would be pleasing unto Thee. We're grateful for all the things that Thou hast given us with the city. We're grateful for our first responders and our public works and the people that keep us safe and keep our lives moving forward. We ask that You bless them abundantly with all that Thou can bestow upon them. We ask for a blessing upon their families as they're doing their jobs and being away from home, that they'll know of the goodness that they provide for us, and we ask for safety of the employees and their families as well. I'm grateful for the City Council and the Planning Commission and those who are willing to serve the city, that we ask that Thou would make us instruments in Thy hands and point us in the direction that would be pleasing unto Thee. We're indeed grateful for all that Thou hast given us, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilor Arnold. We now have a time for public comment. This is an opportunity to address the City Council and share your concerns or ideas. No action will be taken during the public comment. If you do approach the microphone, please state your name and your city of residence, and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. Seeing no public comment, we'll move on to presentations and reports. We'll start with number one, the mayor's report. First, we did get an email. I'm sure Mr. Eggett was very relieved at this, but our moderate income housing report has been accepted by the state. So thank you very much, Mr. Eggett, for that, and congratulations on getting that accepted. Sheriff, is there something going on?
I would just say that was a lot of work too.
Yeah.
Mike put in a lot of time and effort on that, so we appreciate
A lot of back and
his
forth,
work.
and anyway, that was a lot of work by Mr. Eggett, so we're grateful to him for getting that. And so, okay, next, Sheriff Arbin would like to invite our council and to come on a tour of the jail. He's going to come and personally invite us. As you may know, there is the sheriff's department is trying to get a bond passed to improve the jail facility a little bit, to provide some extra mental health, and they want the city councils to understand what they're doing there and what's going on. I think it's going to be a tough sell, to be honest, from what I've seen, just in the kind of the sentiment of people. But anyway, I'll keep you posted as soon as I hear anything about that. We've been working hard on the Veterans Day program. We had previous Mayor Norm Searle reach out, and he was able to line up retired Brigadier General Max Stitzer, who will be our speaker. It looks like that's going to be a great program. We have Riverdale Elementary coming to sing again and stuff. And so that's going to be, just to clarify with you guys, that'll be on Friday, November 10th, because the 11th is a Saturday. And so it's being observed on the 10th. And so that'll be at that morning. Ms. Maragoni just made me aware that there is a Meet the Candidates night on Wednesday, October 18th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Community Center or Senior Center? Community Center. It'll be similar to the format 2 years ago, where the candidates will have a table set up and you can go around and ask them questions. So,
what time did that start?
6 p.m. I'm working on my list of questions, so I'm excited to see what these people are all about. We're excited. Okay. And that is all I have for the mayor's report. Are there any reports from the city council regarding their assignments? Seeing none, we'll move on to consent items. Number 1, consideration to approve the meeting minutes from the September 5th, 2023 council work session and council regular meeting. Are there any corrections or changes to these minutes? Seeing none, a motion to approve would be in order.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion?
I'll go ahead and abstain since I wasn't here.
Okay. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Okay, any opposed? Very good, that passes unanimously. We'll move into the action items. Number 1, consideration of Resolution 2023-27, renewing a contract with Robinson Waste for garbage and recycling services. Mr. Douglas.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a housekeeping item to get the contracts up to date. I would note that, when you look back through what they do for us, so pretty much every month they're picking up around 12,600 cans is what our average is on the month, where we have an extra week in there where we're just under 16,000. And they give me reports, and so like when they get a call, when somebody calls and says something happened with their can and that, when you look at that, this is the ones just going to Robinson. This doesn't count the ones going to us, but a lot of times we send them to Robinson. So like on a 12,600 can month, we get 1 call. We get 3 calls. For the months of January through August, we've only had 26 calls logged on that total. I mean, that is pretty exceptional. They also do something else that I think is really unique, and they go out and follow their drivers around. And they actually keep track of how many cans they put down with the lids open, because that's a big deal. They want them to put the cans down slowly. And that's a big deal to me, because when they put the cans down slowly, we don't have cans damaged. So they actually go out and document how many cans have the lids open. They look at how much trash they leave laying around. They have a deal where if there's something big that falls out, they're not going to pick up a gum wrapper if it falls off the side if you overstacked it. But they go out and audit how much, if there's any trash left laying around the cans. There's a whole list of items that they go out and audit, and I think that's pretty awesome that they go out and try and make sure that our residents are being well served. I think the other thing that you guys would agree is huge for us is that spring and fall cleanup. And the way they've moved it from us having to have our residents take the trash to them, do they actually come out and pick it up along the street, which our numbers since we've did that, the amount of trash we pick up is phenomenal. It's crazy how much more usage that has had since we've done that. And like I said, Steve's out of town. Lance is here. If you have questions for him as well, he'd be more than happy to answer them. But we're very happy with the service they provide us, and I think most of the residents, from what I hear, are fairly happy too. I don't hear many complaints. So if you have any questions, I'll try and answer them.
I just want to second what Mr. Douglas said. I've seen them jump out, stand my cans up if they knock them down. The spring and fall cleanup's amazing. It's kind of funny because they don't pick up everything that gets put out, because as soon as it gets put out, the residents start going around and scavenging all the area. But
That actually is a thing. Like, I don't know if some of them collectors actually watch for that to come out in the newsletter.
Yeah.
But that first few days, them people are out driving around picking stuff up.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you even know? Like, they come in with a trailer and start picking stuff up.
yeah, it doesn't all go to Robinson. They do the Christmas tree pickup. I was
also
reading
do
it
a
kind of a little more
Christmas tree.
closely. I guess they give you guys a dumpster over at the Public Works
So we
for
have
park stuff. And
we have 3 dumpsters over there actually now, and then all the ones around the city they also provide them for.
Yeah.
The other thing that's been big, so like when we had the windstorms and that, where we had a ton of, we all of a sudden have all this refuge that we have nothing to do with. I call Steve on the phone. I'm like, what can you get me? He's like, what do you need? I says, I need 5 roll-offs. I have them that day.
yeah.
And that's huge when you have to clean something up and all of a sudden you need this. I mean, he's not planning on that, but I don't know where he even gets a driver to come and deliver us all day long. And then he starts dumping them the next day for us, They've just been really good to work with. And most of you know, but Steve was a former resident here in Riverdale. He lived in Riverdale for a long time. And he has huge ties to Riverdale. I mean,
His daughter's right there, was Riverdale.
and I have not met her, so it's nice to meet you. But, I think he still feels like this is his home or second home. And I think he takes a lot of pride in what he does here. So,
Yeah. Councilor Arnold.
I would just like to say thank you for it's like a personalized service with such a big enterprise that you're working. You see up on the base, and all that kind of stuff. So I don't see you on the base. I mean, you know what I'm saying. I see the shirt on the base. No, but it's thank you. It's kind of an honor to, there's some things that are an honor to renew contracts with, and this is one of them that comes up, periodically. So thank you.
Okay. Anyone want to make a motion?
Amen.
Okay, we're going to make,
No.
no. Okay, here we go.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2023-27 as stated within the contract.
Okay, we have a motion in the packet. Okay.
Not the contract. The
A motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Ms. Maragoni, will you please poll the council?
Counselor Arnold?
Yes.
Counselor Henson?
Yes.
Counselor Hilton?
Yes.
Counselor Merrill?
Yes.
Counselor Stevens?
Yes.
All right, that passes unanimously. Very good. We are, like Councilor Arnold said, it's an honor to renew that contract. So thank you. Thank you very much.
And the fact that you come here,
Yeah,
you don't, I mean,
it's not a
saying
foregone.
you don't have to do that, but it's great that you do come and watch this because it's going to happen and stuff, but thank you.
And Steve called me twice today.
He called me once and told him he'll be here for sure. So
That's awesome. Great. All right. Agenda item number 2, consideration of resolution 2023-28, awarding a bid to Paragon Construction for the 2023 water line improvement project in an amount not to exceed $642,882. Mr. Douglas.
thank you, Mayor. So as we talked about in the pre-meeting, this is a huge endeavor for us. I think it takes away 3 of our major crossings that we have left. We eliminated the crossing up on I-15 going to 1700, so we don't have to worry about that one anymore with the contract we did with Roy. We've done the one under I-84 from 1150 to Target, so that one's knocked out. We have replaced half of it under 84 on that emergency one. This will get us the rest of that. The river across the field out there that Bach owns, and then across the railroad tracks to the edge of the hill. I think it's just huge for us as far as having some major crossings done and be renewed for a pipe that should last us at least 75 years with no doubt. Nervous about it. It's always, when you're not just digging open trench, it's more nerve-wracking, but I think it'll go good. I'm happy with the superintendent on the job. And if you have any questions, I'll try and answer them.
Any questions? Councilor Arnold.
Move to approve resolution 2023-28, awarding a bid to Paragon Construction for the 2023 water line improvement project in the amount not to exceed $642,882.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Ms. Maragoni, will you please poll the council?
Counselor Merrill?
Yes.
Counselor Arnold?
Yes.
Counselor Stevens?
Yes.
Counselor Henson?
Yes.
Counselor Hilton?
Yes.
All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item number 3, consideration of resolution 2023-29, adopting the Intercounty Automatic Aid Fire Agreement. Chief Shawley.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a very robust agreement with all the county fire departments to make sure we have 16 firefighters on scene within 8 minutes to anybody within this county. Adding Washington Terrace improves that, so this is the agreement that adds Washington Terrace to that automatic aid, and they've been the only city in the past that we've not been involved in that, so this is a good thing moving forward in the county.
Any questions? Councilor Arnold.
Move to approve resolution 2023-29, adopting the Intercounty Automatic Aid Fire Agreement that's stated within the packet.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Ms. Maragoni, will you please poll the council?
Counselor Stevens?
Yes.
Counselor Henson?
Yes.
Counselor Hilton?
Yes.
Counselor Arnold?
Yes.
Counselor Merrill?
Yes.
All right, very good. That passes unanimously. We'll move on to item number 4, consideration of resolution 2023-30 for a development agreement for property located approximately 4851 South, 1500 West, as requested by 6ST Development and Tesla. Mr. Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. As I mentioned in the pre-planning meeting, and just by way of history, as it stands now, if somebody comes into the city there to bring water with them, or they have to purchase water, Tesla's in the situation where they've got to purchase some from us. And as the process goes, Weber Basin has required us to enter into a development agreement outlining our terms and conditions on that, and that's what this agreement is. So once we sign off on this, then we will send this over to Weber Basin, and then as soon as their next quarterly meeting comes up, assuming they approve that, then Tesla will have their water and they can proceed. They're already doing construction up there, but this is kind of a key element. They've got to have water, so.
Okay, Councilor Stevens.
Just a general question. When we've had people sell us their water shares in the past, and when, like, Brent had 3.5 shares, and I don't know if the Smiths or
We didn't get Brent's.
we did not. Did that go with the property?
I don't know where they
No.
ended up. Ted Heap
Ted
had
Heap,
them.
I think, kept it all.
I don't know if America First was able to get them with their purchase, but we was not able. He knew them shares was there. We wanted them, and Brent had said that if it didn't hurt his deal, we would get them. But that's bit us several times in not too recent history. Like if you look up at Coleman's, that development up there, we didn't get them shares either. We didn't have an ordinance there that required it, and so them went to the developer, and then they sold them out to somebody else somewhere else. So.
Okay, so when we purchased the Bingham's property, he had, I think, 4 or 5 shares. Now, this is going back almost 20 years. I doubt we got
We
those.
didn't get those shares as far as I know. I don't have any records showing that we received them shares.
All right, just out of curiosity. Thank you.
Now, that's what we're trying to make sure doesn't happen, is the water doesn't leave the city, that it stays, with the property and is usable. But in the past, for whatever reason, we didn't have that. And there was a lot of water that left the city or was moved around in the city. Panunzio's, we did get the water on it when it was sold. So that was a good one, but.
Okay. Any other questions? Councilor Arnold.
Move to approve Resolution 2023-30 as stated within the packet.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Ms. Maragona, will you please poll the council?
Counselor Hilton?
Yes.
Counselor Merrill?
Yes.
Counselor Arnold?
Yes.
Counselor Stevens?
Yes.
Counselor Hanson?
Yes.
All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you. Item number 5, consideration of ordinance 972 regarding proposed rezone request from mobile home park recreational vehicle park zoning and multiple family residential R4 zoning to regional commercial C3 zoning for the property located approximately 633 West 4400 South, as requested by Wright Development Group. Mr. Eggett.
Thank you. As I noted in the work session, Wright Development Group is represented by Logan Johnson, who's present to answer any questions that may arise. This is for 1.31 acres of land, as noted in the address in the designator on the agenda. The property ownership is Garf Properties Riverdale LLC and H&H 39th Street. Therefore, there's 2 applications for this petition. This did come before the Planning Commission on September 12th, wherein there was a public hearing noticed in accordance with state and city requirement. There were no comments provided before or during the public hearing. At the conclusion of the public hearing, there was a recommendation by the Planning Commission for approval of the petition as requested. The general plan guidance found in section 7 area 7, does support this use. The requested use is for a parking area that would be an extension of Ken Garf Nissan for overflow and staff parking. One thing I didn't note in the work session, but that should be noted, is the intent would be for them to do a site plan enhancement would be the right word for that area, for there to be a rezone for that and actually make it look nicer. One other thing that I didn't note in the work session, from the putting on my floodplain management hat on, not having a building in there is a good thing. It reduces liability and risk for the city, and it's a good use. Whereas if we had a building closer to the river in that proximity, there would be encouragement of more risk. So that's just something, wearing my floodplain hat on top of this petition. But that being said, you can see their application in the packet. Fees have been paid. They have a description of what they're trying to do. This would be lot 2 of the subdivision that was previously requested. And with that, I would defer to the council if you have any questions for me or Mr. Johnson.
Councilor Hanson first, and then Councilor Stevens.
In the future, if Ken Garf was to sell the lot, because it's zone C3, would the council have the ability to deny a building application?
That's
because of the flood zone stuff or for any?
The flood zone, they would have to be in accordance with it. No, I mean, the zoning, they would have rights to develop on it. But with the floodplain, that being said, they would still have to elevate and certify by floodplain requirements. Clearly, we'd have a discussion as staff, like, hey, there's risk here, that sort of thing. But you're right, the zoning would, beyond GARF, allow for the other uses that are part of that C3.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that my question is probably in the same vein as where Annie was going, was the C3 is obviously gives them more value to the land than having it as it was. So my question is they can have a parking with it presently in its current zone.
Yeah.
So I don't
Well,
see a need for it.
In the present zone, and not, well, because it's two zones. You've got a carryover of the R4 on the H&H parcel, which I guess you could have a parking lot, but it doesn't. It's part of that residential use. So you got two zones. I guess if we were to go that route, we'd want there to be a unified zone, whether it be R4 on both or RMH1.
I mean, I can see the purpose of once they make their sale or trade or whatever they're doing, and they clean up the lot line of what is Ken Garf and what's H&H. I can see that, being a consistent zone.
Yeah.
I don't see a need to change it right now at this time.
But
I'm concerned about where that's going to go.
the RMA, at least we need to, well, my recommendation would be that at least there be consistency for lot 2, be either all rezoned to R4 if we were to go the route of where you're heading, and not have the RMH1, the residual mobile home park. My recommendation, were we to go that route, that it be to R4. That would be my comment if we want to go that direction. Because the RMH1 zone, on the flip side, would still allow for in the future mobile homes or recreational vehicles to come back and park there as a park in the future. So if you keep it there, it still has that opportunity to be that use in the future. And I know it's a long shot, but it's kind of no different than the same train of logic that's being presented with the C3.
Well, I mean, Garf has been using it in that capacity now for 6 years, 7 years, since they demolished all the trailers on the east end and they fenced it off, and they've been using it as a overflow parking. They've been doing the exact same thing now.
I think the best thing for you maybe would be to encourage Mr. Johnson to come up and talk about at least the enhancement side so you can understand the vision, because it's not, the intent isn't just for it to remain like it is and just have fence go up and that be the end of it. That their intent would be to enhance that. So maybe, I don't know.
Okay, well, here's the thing, if I could just, while he's coming up, is the parcel of land that was across the street from Leslie's that is now part of this development.
Yeah, the R5.
Was originally an R2. There were two.
Well, a portion of it was R5 already.
Okay, there was on the
A
one
portion
side.
of it was R5.
But there was 2 homes there that were R2.
Yeah.
And the gentleman who owned Stony Brook bought it, and he came to get and made it an R5 on the pretext that he was going to put this residence,
Expand Stony Brook to some extent.
An extension of Stony Brook. He got the zone changed. Then he sold it. Then Mr. Brown came in and put in a building there. And then, I mean, it's just, I mean, that was done on the pretext of very lofty, acceptable criteria. But once that zone changes, there's no obligation to stay with whatever the original plan was. Now it's just, it's open. And anyway.
Can I ask one more quick question?
Yeah.
I'd like to hear what you have to say too. I just was wondering, is there a better zone that doesn't put that would be more fitting for a parking lot?
They all zones do parking. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go down the train you're talking about, whether it's C3 or R4 or RMH, it all has the potential to be developed.
Right.
Right? At the end of the day, whether it's parking or whatever we
There's
designate
no such
it
thing
as
as a zone
There's not a parking lot
doesn't
zone.
permit a building
No.
in the future.
No, so
basically.
if we go along the train of thought we're talking, it doesn't matter because whatever zone is placed there allows for development rights to that property.
Okay.
Okay, so I mean, that's fine if we don't like C3, but at the end of the day, it's still allowing development rights for the property at some future date were that to be pursued.
Unless it's a park.
Yeah, unless it's a park. That kind of open
Sorry.
space or park would probably be the best way to keep it from ever being a building. And then the city would have to control it or some kind of private public entity, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
And remind me, with the C3 zone, is that the one where most of the uses are conditional?
No, that would be like a C2.
C2,
C2
okay.
has all the
conditional
permitted
stuff.
and conditionals as all conditional.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that conversely could be something to be looked at if that was a direction to go, but everything would still be conditional and there'd have to be at that point just a health, safety, welfare concern as far as why a business wouldn't work at that location.
I think there's probably possibilities for it to be C3 and have something there, even if they decided not to do a parking lot. There might be things that fit there that.
And the if you look at Area 7, there are some references to the general plan being somewhat supportive of it being C3 in nature. That's why I highlighted it.
Like a gun range.
But well, a gun range
For
is
C3?
a gun range. Ironically, is a conditional
I know.
use in a C3. So.
Yeah. Anyway, I am curious about the improvements that you're.
Thank you. Yeah, just maybe a little context to your discussion. Our determination to apply for the C3 zone was based on two things. Number one, the existing zone of the property that we're swapping. The corner currently is C3, from what I can see on the zoning map. And then when we talked with staff, said, hey, they want to do a parking lot. What's the best fit? We all determined it was C3. There's nothing beyond that. I don't think.
Yeah,
Garf
the
has
thought
any-
process, because it is an extension of existing C3 business, that if it's tied to an existing C3
That's right.
business, it'd be an extension as
right.
zoning.
Yeah, so and I think that's what Garf was the most comfortable with. They asked me, well, what's our zone of our building? It's C3 in our lot, and so they were worried. They just don't want to lose the right to have the parking lot. They were worried they were grandfathered in at the corner, and so they said, well, if we match our current use, then that would work. And so that's the determination there. I don't think there's any intent other than the parking lot, but like you pointed out, Councilman Stevens, the next buyer may not have that same appetite, so the rights are granted with the rezone. But our improvements plans are light. I think we sent a concept to staff. I don't know if I sent that to you, Mike.
Not yet.
But it's essentially just parking, some detention, and Garf wants lighting on there too. So I think the last site plan that we just circulated was some pole lights, 4 pole lights, to help keep it lighted and keep it secure. And all indications are Garf will maintain it as parking indefinitely, but when you grant zoning, which we're grateful that all property has some rights to it, and we're grateful there isn't a zone that totally devoids property of any development rights. Any rezone has with the development rights. We think C3 is appropriate. When we talked with staff and the general plan made sense. You know, as we look through the table of uses, we don't think there's anything that would be particularly nuisance that isn't controlled by maybe a conditional use mitigation efforts. It'll have some high density housing nearby in addition to the highway. And so, speaking from a commercial developer standpoint, its loss of visibility from its current location, I think harms its really intense commercial viability. I think it would have done better on the corner, but that was just sort of part of the deal, was the land swap. So anyway, happy to answer any other questions on it. And I don't know if I've answered all the questions. If I haven't, I'm sorry.
Councilor Stevens.
Yeah.
Johnson.
Yes.
Are you with H&H or with Ken Garf?
I'm with Right Development, neither. We have relationships with both. Our office is in Centerville. We're a development partner brought in on this project for development services and financial support.
Okay. Because I see you signed off on both applications.
Well, I think we had an H&H manager sign the one, and then the Garf family signed the other.
Yeah,
I
the
think I
owners-
signed as the applicant,
Correct.
but they gave me
Yeah,
the
that's
correct.
where I
That's
saw
the
your
name.
they gave me the consent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing that was brought up in talking to Mr. Douglas that is true is that there also is that C3 landscaping requirement, so they will have to hit that 20th percentile land. So it won't just be blacktop fence lights, right? They'll be full 20 percentile requirement of landscaping on the side as well. So to make it look a little bit more than just blacktop.
You gotta put grass, are they?
No, our landscaping requirement, as you know, it's 15% only on grass is all they can have at the site. So it'd be very minimal at
Good
best.
grass.
They could do all rock mulch by our
Dead
ordinance.
grass over there.
We'll avoid grass for you, Councilman.
And it'll be fenced, right? I mean, it's
Yep.
fenced now, so it'll continue to be a secured fenced area.
That's right. I don't know if the zone requires that, but in our agreements, it'll be fenced 360 degrees on it.
It does
Razor
require
wire.
screen fencing adjacent to a residential area if it were to be zoned to C3 and it were to be improved, it would require screen fencing along the residential zone. That is
However,
required.
above and beyond that, we intend on fencing the entire perimeter for the cars.
With the screen fencing.
I think it's slats in the chain link, if memory serves. I can't, don't quote me on that, but that's my recollection
Some
of our
privacy,
latest
though.
discussion. Yeah.
Okay.
Councilor Arnold.
Just a thought, it's not for Mr. Johnson, but so the general plan, I mean, has a thing like, hey, what are we doing with the river? And so really the first thing with the general plan coming in and all that kind of stuff, the first thing we do is the parking lot, the screened-in parking lot. So, I mean, what can we do in the future to start something with the river, to have the river park, walkway, or it's like, I want to go walking along the river and I get to see this slotted fence. I can peek through and see what Ken Garf's got for sale.
I'm glad you said that now, because now Mr. Johnson can log that in and maybe we can have those discussions as part of the site plan. But you're right. One of the key components, and this is dipping into the next item a little bit, but is talking about that river enhancement district. We can go after focused regional development grants with Wasatch Front Regional Council to look at a plan and to have a plan that would give a design guide and expectation of any developments along that river corridor. So the city is in a control kind of a seat. And we could even, probably as part of that would be a recommendation to create some kind of ordinance that then looks at certain design guides and elements and expectations of development. So it is truly an enhancement. That way, even if down the road this property were to be developed, it would be subject to that plan. But that's a future thing that we would want to do once the general plan was in place. And I already do have that on the radar. I've talked to Mr. Hupp about that. I've also talked to WFRC, and we would explore that as the next step if the general plan were to get approved tonight.
Great.
Parking lot's a great placeholder use in other spots. It's a low
True.
investment. It
I
can
mean,
be changed.
That's one of the things, like with the C3. So I'm probably the biggest pain in the butt with the city coming with development, because
No, that was Steve.
no, it's yeah. But the thing is, it's like we do the zoning. Somebody comes in and says, hey, we're going to have this grandiose something, or cool something. We change the zoning, and then they sell it to somebody else who puts in this cheap whatever, and it bugs the crap out of me. But it's also part of the deal. Yeah, I mean, that's if we want to get better with our zoning, tighter with our zoning, those types of things. So I mean, C3, when you come in with the C3, I don't see us, like, I can ask you, I think, to say, hey, would you consider this? But if your application says C3, if you say no, I want a C3, that's what the application said. So that's what the question is, not what I want it to be. So
Fair.
I mean, I don't see the no in the question, personally. So
And we will, once we finish our site plan application, our relationship with Garf will change, and they will be so I can't make any promises other than sort of what these applications have. So that's a great point.
Councilor Arnold.
I would move to approve ordinance 972 as stated within the packet.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Ms. Marigoni, will you please poll the council?
Counselor Henson?
Yes.
Counselor Merrill?
Yes.
Counselor Arnold?
Yes.
Counselor Hilton?
Yes.
Counselor Stevens?
No.
Okay, that passes with 4 in favor and 1 opposed.
Mayor, if you don't mind, I apologize. Is our site plan application come back to council?
You'll start with the planning commission and work with me on that process.
Mayor, if I could say something too before Logan leaves there, just
That was a
quickly.
joke.
Since-
You were-
I know that. And I didn't take that
No one
personally.
was.
But I wanted to say thanks to both Logan. I've been meaning to reach out to him and Mr. Hatch. I know it was some prodding, at least partially on his part, even though it's not completely related to this. But once Logan jumped on top of that demolition, you saw what happened in about the span of about 2 or 3 days. So we appreciate your help and
Well, Sage is
encouragement
great.
on that.
If
So,
ever you need any demo in the city.
yeah, but
Yeah,
thank
I
you.
can't believe how fast they did that.
Yeah,
once they
it looks a lot better. Even piles of junk look better than what we had there. So thank you. Appreciate it.
And Logan, I just wanted to say the exact same thing. You took a huge load off of my back, and I know I was reaching out, and I apologize because I was kind of at my wit's end. But thank you so much. And just one kind of funny side note: so the newspaper, they had been reaching out, and I didn't. Well, they sent a new interview to me, and they asked a couple of funny questions. But one of them was, "Is the city pleased with how quickly this was done?" And I was just like, Yes. I mean, it was just, and they actually were wondering if we had somehow pushed you to do it so fast. They were like, "Do you know what date it started?" And I was like, "Yeah." And
They asked us if we had prodded them.
if yeah, was it expected to go that quickly? And I said, "Well, I think they were just trying to get it done, you know." And Chris has been great as well. So just pass along my thanks to him. He's called me personally a couple of times and just thank you so much. It was a big problem here in the city, and we were taking a lot of heat. So we
We were
really
watching the
appreciate it.
time lapse today, thinking it'd be really cool to see when it kind of goes down, but the trailers all really went in like a 3-hour period. So it's sort of a boring
Crazy.
time lapse.
Yeah.
The before and after. But yeah, we're happy to help.
So thank you once again. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, that passes, so that's good. We'll move on to number 6, motion to untable and consideration of ordinance 970 approving proposed Riverdale City Comprehensive General Plan update.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to untable. That is a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? All in favor say yes.
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 Any opposed? Okay, we are untabled on that. Mr. Eggett, some discussion on this, please.
Yeah, and I'd like to invite Mr. Hupp just to come up in case there's additional commentary or comments from him. But this matter came before the council on September 5th. As you remember, Mr. Hupp did a full presentation to the council at that time of the work that has gone into this. And prior to that, it had gone to the Planning Commission on June 13th with the public hearing component. And then following that public hearing, or I guess it was to set up the public hearing. Then the public hearing was held on July 25th, and then a recommendation was sent to the council to approve as the document was prepared. So with that, like I noted in the work session, there were some minor amendments to the map on page 11, wherein, he's got it. Showing where those changes are. And as noted, the exterior of the city did not have designations outside of the city boundaries that were identified in the plan for annexation. I guess I keep saying annexation. It's probably more realistically boundary adjustment or annexation, depending on the tool and what the city relationship is to that property. And then, as noted, the apartment complex project, that had the wrong designation for what it is, so we changed that. And then again, that mobile home area had attached, and with everything to the north of it being commercial, it seemed to be a better fit for it to be commercial, and it still has that residential overlay. So the mobile home park could stay there. Obviously, it doesn't have any challenges as it relates to the general plan, but then we can pursue other concepts were they to come forward in that entire area. And as noted by Mr. Arnold in the last conversation, the river district, as we identified it, was right around the civic center all the way down to the golf course and all the properties up and down that river. So that would be what we would focus on as a study area. And I like what you said. Maybe you've taken it past Riverdale Road to 4400 and everything from 4400 down to the golf course. And that's what the plan is indicating it's seeking. So that would kind of be, I guess you call it general plan activity 1.5, if you want to call it that. That's what we would be looking at doing as the next step with this, were this to get approved tonight. So, but from the city staff's perspective and in working with SOMAS, we feel like this document definitely takes the city and the perspective of the city much forward ahead of what the previous iteration of this document was that we've been slogging along with probably for to my estimation, maybe 20 or even 30 years in different forms. So at least this adds a nice sheen and aesthetic to it that better reflects not only the sophistication of the city, but where the city wants to go in the future. And a lot of the commentary, as Mr. Hupp noted previously, is keep the city the same, but make it better. If that's possible. In other words, the residents are very, very happy by and large, but what things can we do in our own deeper dive into it to make the city even better and more attractive to everybody who lives here, and then those that come and spend their money, again, Riverfront District, to make it even more interesting to come here and be here to have an experience. So with that, that's all I'll say, but I don't know, Chris, do you have anything else to add to that?
No, I mean, chatted a few times, but yeah.
So,
questions?
So for my question, those
Oh,
areas
yeah.
that could possibly be adjusted, it looks like they're just brought in as open space generally, like there's
Yeah.
the one on the north end.
Yeah. So again, it's with that boundary adjustment. That's actually in the document. These were those 3 edits.
Yeah.
That's what you see, and those are adjacent to open space, and they make sense to stay open space.
Yeah.
Again, they're in the river, potential flood areas and things, and so we show them as that. They get annexed in. If down the road someone wants to do something else, it's up to you.
but they come in as open space. At least those 3 that are boundary adjustments.
That's the recommendation.
Yeah.
Coming as open space.
Didn't we own
We
buy that area across the road?
we
there?
do. We have a portion of real estate in Ogden City, and that's part of that area.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
I'll have the whole
By,
thing. The rest of that's Ogden City. So.
Yeah, Birch's was,
Yeah.
Right. Right.
we own that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we bought
That's
that.
where
It's
Mike
about
Staten
3 or
was
4
talking
acres.
about putting in a bike park.
Right.
Oh, I heard it was going to be a dog park.
Regardless, we're showing it as open space because it has some kind of park potential, right?
Okay, now, so what's just to the north? Is that county or is that Ogden City?
It's Ogden City, but it's not accessible to any utilities. It's not accessible to roads. It's cut off by the river. It's kind of a weird property as far as jurisdictionally speaking. And that's what the general plan noticed.
And so this is to say, turn it, cut it off and give it to Ogden City, or let them administer it, or us take more?
Were they to be agreeable to some kind of property boundary adjustment and it come into Riverdale, it would come in as an open space designation.
But we would take that area that was in that little,
That's in theory what the general plan is suggesting.
And then there's one kind of up by the terrace over in the south
right,
side.
yeah.
And then one curious thing, that boundary almost looks like the trail isn't in Riverdale, behind River Glen.
You're correct. That's what we learned through this process. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
We came to conclude that. That's a really weird problem that honestly, if we want to keep maintaining the trail and doing what we're doing with, we probably should figure that out and get that solved pretty
Flooding
quickly.
is Ogden's problem.
It's, I think
In that
it's,
one
it's-
piece.
I think it's county, right? Yeah, that
County,
section's
yeah,
county.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy. We came to that conclusion doing this process. Never
Mr.
realized
Douglas
it.
is smiling over there, so
So maybe you leave it out of the city.
the maintenance, yeah, just let
Can
them know.
can I just ask a clarifying question on, and maybe, I don't know, it's just me, but when we do annexations or boundary adjustments, although we generally follow the general plan, when we do that, at the time of annexation or boundary adjustment, you can change the zoning at that time, right? It's not like you're held.
Yeah, the general plan gives guidance, but clearly if the council saw a higher and better use for it, they have that option. But the state code is clear. We should have some kind of generalized guidance in
But
the
it's a
general
common
plan.
thing to do both at the same
Yeah.
time. Okay.
So
just
the
making
public
sure.
at large knows for the 90th percentile chance it's going to be this, but right, we can't bind a future council if they want to do something different.
Okay.
I think the exception would be the storage unit, which came from Ogden into Riverdale, came on the pretext that it had the zoning that Ogden granted.
It was my understanding, and I wasn't with the city, so I'm kind of stretching, but there were some conditions in the A1 zone that have been since removed that allowed for that to happen when it came into the city. That's my understanding.
All right. Councilor Arnold.
I would move to approve, where are we at? Ordinance 970, accepting the Riverdale City Comprehensive General Plan update.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Ms. Maragoni, will you please poll the council?
Counselor Merrill?
Yes.
Counselor Hilton?
Yes.
Counselor Henson?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Counselor Arnold?
Yes.
All right, that passes unanimously. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Hupp. and
Sorry
Mr.
for
Eggett.
putting you on the tail end of the.
Actually, the reason we continued our last meeting and canceled it was because he wasn't here, so we can blame him for it.
Last one.
No, I meant 2 weeks ago. He wasn't going to be here, and I thought it was important to have him here in case you guys had questions. So we had
Thank
nothing
you-
else on the
thank you
agenda,
for
so
not
we
being
canceled it.
available.
That's right.
All right. At the authorization of the council, we have decided to change the order of the agenda slightly. We'll be moving the item number 8 up, the motion to adjourn into a closed session, and we will then, after that, do our discussion and action regarding the potential noise issue. So we now have the opportunity, if the council wishes, to adjourn into a closed session.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Maragoni, will you please poll the council?
Counselor Hilton?
Yes.
Counselor Stevens?
Yes.
Counselor Merrill?
Yes.
Counselor Arnold?
Yes.
Counselor Henson?
Yes.
All right, very good. We are going into closed session. Thank you. Okay, very good.